Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It is I, Classic 7 by GM, and guess what? Yay! Look, it's Justice! It's Justice. Justice is here with us to chat and talk about all the lovely, nerdy stuff that we get to talk about and all the stuff that he's doing. And, like I said in my um, whole Instagram thing, he's one of the most phenomenal actors I've encountered so far in the last few months, and it's amazing and really weird that we were both at one convention and never ran into each other. It's so bizarre, but we'll
Surprisingly,
talk
happens
about
a
it
lot.
in a second. I don't understand why, but welcome to the channel. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hey Clem. So I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions. We're gonna chat. We're gonna vibe. We're gonna do the whole thing. Thank you for the follow. So want to ask you about TTRPG performing and streaming because you do stream as well.
Yeah.
A lot of art, which I love. So what came first though? Like TTRPG performing, acting, streaming. What was your first thing that started this whole journey?
So I started TTRPGs when I was like 8, I think.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, one of my like elementary school friends' dad was a big nerd, and so like we would go over to his house, and I would read comic books all the time. And
Oh, that's
then
awesome.
he was like, "Oh, I'm playing D&D with my son. Do you want to play?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is." But then we started playing, and then I was like a half elf ranger who was trapped by some kobolds and like tortured.
Oh.
And then on my first game, I went outside and we got attacked by wolves, and I was like, "Can I pet the wolves and make a friend?" And I rolled a nat 20 on my first roll, and then he's like,
Oh
"Okay, you have a wolf companion now." And so I was like, I sold immediately on
no. Like this.
D&D.
This is my thing.
Yeah. And
So.
then with TTRPG
Mm-hmm.
AP, I think last year, Sam Sim,
Mm-hmm.
who played Ottilia in Castleton,
Mm-hmm.
she had a show that she was running called Eden Falls,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
she didn't tell me what it was, but she like made a post and she's like, "We lost a cast member. I need someone that can fill in really quick." And so I was like, "Hey," we had just met like
Oh
a few
wow.
weeks before that,
Okay.
and I was like, "I'm down. I've been wanting to do APs and TTRPG stuff for a while." And I was like,
Mm.
and she's like, "Yeah, come in." And I thought it was gonna be D&D because that's all I've ever
Right. Right.
played.
Right.
And then when we started, it was like kids in the '80s and like sci-fi, and I was like, I have no idea how to do this, but I got thrown in the deep end, and then Castleton's my second thing I've ever done. So
Really? Castles is
yeah,
only the second thing you've ever done?
yeah.
Well, one, that's impressive. Because we'll talk about this, but most of us here know that Castleton has been a big deal for a lot of people, a lot of TTRPG performers and action players. But we'll get into it. But you are also a really prolific actor. You have an IMDb. I've watched some of my stuff in my research, and it's pretty cool.
Thank
And
you.
you're a really good artist. Because I've commissioned stuff. Guys, I will
You
show
did.
this
Thank
stuff
you.
after Castleton. When Castleton is over, I'll show this stuff in my stream, but not before. But a really amazing artist that I've commissioned as well. How have you been able to fit all these things that you do into not only TTRPG but like the streaming and everything else?
So when I started streaming, I was working in comics at the time, I think,
Mm-hmm.
as a comic colorist. And
Okay.
then I was like, oh, maybe I should stream coloring. But then I was like, that's incredibly boring because the way I color is like very meticulous and slow.
Right.
So I was like, no
Okay.
one's gonna want to watch that. So I started playing games, and then I usually play when everyone in my house is asleep. So I don't have a camera on and I don't
Mm-hmm.
have like a mic on, so I don't talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, it's changed a little bit, but then I started streaming coloring and artwork and stuff, and then those were like more popular than my gaming streamings, which was weird because I was like, "This is." If I was watching, I'd be like, "I'm bored," but
Yeah.
a lot of people enjoy it. So
A lot of people
yeah,
enjoy it because I have friends. I have one of my really good friends. He's an artist and he streams almost exclusively art. And I think that's what, for me, in my opinion, he's not here yet, but I'll just say it anyway. In my opinion, his better streams. I love it when he streams art. It's more fun. But you also, and I saw this recently, and I didn't know this until recently, that you are a cosplayer and you play Astarion, and I was like convincing a little bit. I was like, oh my god, like. How did you get into cosplay and like why Baldur's Gate 3 characters?
so cosplay, I kind of started that when I was little too, but I didn't really know it was cosplay. I just would dress up for Comic Con because I started going to Comic Con
Mm-hmm.
around 8 at the same time because of that
Okay.
same friend who played D&D. And I grew up in San Diego, so went there and dressed
Mm-hmm.
up as some characters. And then years later, my girlfriend liked to cosplay a lot, so we would cosplay together. Not really like couple cosplays, but we'd just do
Mm-hmm.
it together.
Okay.
And then a friend of mine was like working for Bandai or something, and then he's like, "I need a tall, skinny guy to be a elf vampire." And so my girlfriend hit me up, and she's like, or she hit him up, and she's like, "Well, Justin, obviously." And so
Like
then
duh.
he sent my photo off to Larian, and
Mm-hmm.
then Larian was like, "Yeah, you'll be Asterion." So then I've been working with Larian as the official Asterion for like the
So
last
cool.
5 years now.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
fun.
I was like, wait, this is an actual like, like I was flipping out a little. I was like, this is an actual thing. Like this is not
It's
like something
crazy.
like that got like made up. This is like your deal. Like I was
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
holy shit. So.
Yeah, I got hired just to be the body, but the girl who plays Shadowheart with me at all the
Mm-hmm.
conventions, she's like a movie costumer. So like she made the costumes on The Boys, Ant-Man,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a bunch of other things. And so she made all the Asterion outfit. And then we have another girl who does all the makeup, and she worked on like Star Trek and a bunch of other things.
Right.
So
Right.
I just show up and I'm just like, cool, yeah, make me Asterion, and then I go out there and take photos with everybody.
It's so
It's great.
good. It's so good, guys. If you are, and we'll get into which convention is going to be at, but if you are at any of the conventions and you happen to get a picture because it is so freaking accurate, like
Yep.
amazing, just absolutely amazing. Um, so TTRPG in general is just very niche, like social media, like super niche. Like in our world, it's big, but we're in an echo chamber.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
being said, um, why choose this as a social media outlet? Like continue on with it despite it being an accidental occurrence.
It um So there's a group called Hyper RPG
Mm-hmm.
that I'm sure everyone in the TTRPG space
Yes.
kind of knows about. I didn't know that they did TTRPGs, but friends of mine would do streams with them, and so I would like show up and be
Mm-hmm.
on some of their stuff. And then when I realized that they were doing like they did a Power Ranger TTRPG and they did some other ones, and I was like, oh, this seems like a lot of fun. Plus, everyone
Mm-hmm.
that was doing it was other actors,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I was like, oh, this is cool. You like get to act, but also play TTRPG and do things, and that's kind of how I got into it. And then with Eden Falls, I like got sucked into it incredibly because Ed is the DM for that,
Mm-hmm.
or the GM for that, and he's insane. So then I was like, this is a lot of fun. And Castleton did the same, and
Mm-hmm.
Castleton pushed me to like start doing art commissions because I never did art commissions before that.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I was like, who would want to get art from me? And I'm just a colorist. It's
First of
but then
all,
everyone was like, you need to do this, and I was like, all right, fine.
100% need to do this. I'll post in the Discord maybe like one of the things because now that like it's coming closer to the end, so you guys could see because oh my gosh, like you're really really good. So you're also like despite stuff with Larian doing Castleton, you pretty much have like weirdly or not weirdly become very very popular in social media outlets. Instagram, Twitch, Blue Sky. I'm seeing you everywhere. Those communities, especially with the going away and coming back, and then going away
Mm,
and coming back of TikTok, those communities are very very different. How do you
yep.
interact with them and keep like the relative like connection that you need to continue your brand?
I'm very probably stupidly. Um, I respond to pretty much everybody.
Mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
so like I I wouldn't say it's like a marketing strategy, but I'm just very open and receptive to people. Like
Oh,
even in
that's
real life, when
awesome.
people come up to me and talk to me, I just respond and talk to them, and it's usually
Mm-hmm.
strangers. And then I'm like, I gotta go. It's been 20 minutes. Um,
Like I'm stuck
but
here and I don't know what to do.
yeah, I'm very much the same on social media. So like when people DM me like out of the blue, I
Mm-hmm.
usually respond until like I get a weird vibe from them, and then I kind of just ghost them. But up until the point they give me a weird vibe, I'm usually just like, yeah, what do you need? And then I'll talk to them. And I think
Oh,
that's
we need to talk.
that's it's mostly been good in building
Mm-hmm.
community, I guess,
Okay,
and
okay, fair.
support and all that stuff. And then TikTok surprisingly, or not TikTok, Twitter surprisingly, like I had it since like 2007, but then I
Really?
never used it because I was like, what am I going to talk about? Like, oh, I had a sandwich today, and it
Yeah,
just seemed like a weird thing for me.
yeah, yeah.
But then I started using it more because of Larian and Asterion, and
Right.
like Larian only had a Twitter, so it was like every time I had to promote something, I had to do it on
On
Twitter.
Twitter. Okay.
And then that got me a lot of jobs because I ended up meeting a lot of like directors and producers and then
Mm-hmm.
other content creators. And so like we all just built through there, and then that kind of spread out to
Oh, that's amazing.
Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky and all that now.
It's like now it's a thing. It's like because I see you react. You're right. You react in answer to almost everything, which is actually pretty cool because it's like one of those things like, oh, that's justice.
Yeah.
It's like this is justice.
Sometimes probably too much, but
I like it. I mean, personally, I'm like, this is so cool. He just answered my thing, so, but tell us like, does is Teach RPG for forming going to be something that you use as your mainstay career choice, or something that you want to remain in, or is it going to be mostly like branching out into more, I guess, mainstream acting, like television, big screen type of stuff?
I would say mainstream acting is still
Mm,
my main goal. Like that's
okay.
been my goal since I was a little kid. I started
Okay.
acting when I was 6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Had my first agent when I was like 11.
Okay.
So it's been like my life trajectory goal.
Right. Right.
But at the same time, I've had a great experience with pretty much every
Yeah.
TTRPG I've been involved in now, and then like
Mm-hmm.
everyone that I've met through it has been really great.
Oh,
I've
cool.
done 4 or 5 now, I think. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
Eden Falls, then Castleton, and then a couple sporadic ones
Okay.
came from
Okay.
that. But each one I've just been like, hey, yeah, let's go have fun and like create something and
Mm-hmm.
break people's hearts and
Which is
tell
100%
stories.
true. 100% true because so with TTRPG kind of growing and becoming this thing, it's not necessarily like people say professional AP and whatever, but
Mm,
in the sense that they are doing this, are exclusively doing this, not necessarily to pay all it, but
yeah.
for exposure. Um, what do you think that future looks like for actors and people who are just doing this as I like action play. I'm not really an actor.
Yeah, it's interesting because with everyone I've done so far, it's been varying levels of people. Some people that are just like strictly AP TTRPG people
Right,
that are
right,
like
mm-hmm.
this is what they do. They know everything about it. They live it.
Right.
And then there's people like me who are actors who are like dabbling in it kind of, but also
Okay.
like really invested in it. And then there's people that just like telling stories, but they don't not that they don't really know what they're doing, but they don't really know acting as like a
Right,
art
right.
craft. So
Mm-hmm.
they're acting as how they think they should act. It's really interesting because when I started Castleton around the same time I was starting a new acting class,
Mm-hmm.
and I was seeing parallels with like a lot of people in Castleton plus
Mm-hmm.
acting class, and I
Mm-hmm.
think being in Castleton because it's Castleton plus like Eden Falls is so many hours of just
Mm-hmm.
acting,
Right.
improv, made my acting class like my skill improved way faster in that too at the same time. It was really funny.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "How are you getting so good so fast?" I'm like, "Well, I just did a like 5 hour stream yesterday where I had to
Of
improv
pure
for 5 hours."
improv. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like every line is improv, which is really,
yeah,
really. So I usually wait for all the questions. If you want to ask any questions of Justice, please redeem 50 channel points. We usually wait for toward about 15 minutes till the end of the interview to ask those questions. However, come ask a really good question. I'm going to grab right now.
okay.
What do you
Course Thunder.
find is different in TRPG compared to traditional acting?
Uh, I think the main difference is you're not limited by anything really.
Okay. Okay.
Like on a stage, you have physical limitations.
Right.
On film, you have whatever limitations, and even if you're doing like improv, you have
Mm-hmm.
limitations. But with like AP, especially in the fantasy realm,
Oh my God. Yes.
you can do literally anything. Like uh, when Sachi did her little thing against you, where she's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
she'll she'll hex you, but then she's like a little red ribbon flies out of her arm, and then like
Mm-hmm.
she explains it, and then at the same time she's like, "You're no mother of mine." Like
Right.
it's interacting with the storytelling plus the emotion plus all that. It's a really neat way of telling a story that you can't really do um, on like traditional acting without a
Right.
plan, kind of.
So, just off of what Clem just said, do you see, and also what you said that by doing casting, you have been improving immensely in your acting class and everything else because
Yeah.
of the pretty much 5 hour improv and having to
Yeah.
think and how to do these things. Do you think that actors who discover TTRPGs on and role playing will kind of start using this as an outlet, not only for improving their acting, but also as a means of um, their actual craft. You know, like
Yeah. Uh, I think it all comes down to perspective and personal desire. Like
mm-hmm,
a lot of everything I do, I don't think of it in like a work sense of like how can I use this to get more work or how can I make my work better. But it's I I used to do martial arts a lot too, and when I would compete, my coach would say, "Learn by watching."
yes,
So when
yes,
we'd ever watch someone else do a form, we'd be like, "Okay, how'd they do that form?" And like
mm-hmm,
learn from
mm-hmm,
them, and then incorporate it in yourself. So when I do TTRPG, and I think a lot of other actors when they do acting in general, like you watch people, you learn from them, and then you incorporate it into yourself. So like Scotty in Castleton, he's very visual with the way he describes everything. Same with
yes,
Ed, like with his
yes,
grotesque,
yeah.
everything that he's doing. And then I'm just sitting there, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a yeah, I should do
Yeah.
that more. I shouldn't just be like, I throw a knife and then I walk away. It's more like as I reach into the like essence of my soul and I
Oh,
pull
that's
out this,
so good.
yeah,
I love that.
things like that. It's interesting, and then you can incorporate that into like stage acting and theater acting and
Hmm.
film acting because it's all coming from your imagination.
Right.
And huge thing, like my teacher keeps in my acting class keeps pushing on everyone because a lot of people in my class don't like improv, so they get really
Oh,
frustrated whenever
yeah,
he
yeah,
has to do
yeah.
improv. But he's like, you have to be creative if you're going to be an actor. Even if you have a script that's completely laid out, you have to
Hmm.
fill in the blanks and you have to
Yeah,
come up with things and you have to be creative. And this forces you to be creative,
yeah.
or you're really boring, or you're not
Like
doing anything.
one note character, or you're just like,
Yeah.
like every single character has the same, like, oh my god, this is the same character. Please go away.
Yep.
Um, so do you think I'm now I'm stuck on this whole thing now. Do you think that it would be worth it for you to encourage your classmates or other actors to like actually like do find a TTRPG, an
Yep.
actual play, a table somewhere, and actually join it? Like,
Yeah, I've pushed it on a few of my classmates already. Like,
okay,
especially a, there's like two or three people in my class who are already like top level kind of, and
mm-hmm.
then they're really creative and they're really introspective. So like, as soon as they get a script, they're just like, oh, I know who this person is, and they go straight into it. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you would kill
Oh
an
my god,
AP, like you would be because you're already like you already
right.
have the mindset, and then just like you'd have the freedom to do whatever you wanted. And so I keep trying to push it, but they're all like, "I don't know," and I'm like, "Just watch one of
Just
mine."
watch
Like,
one. I think that's one of the bane of existences of people who are not only DMs or GMs or who do private tables or home tables
mhm,
or actual plays, is convincing people to do it. That's why I
yep,
keep
yeah,
saying world domination through TTRPG. So it's a thing. It has to be a thing. But so you discovered Dungeons and Dragons when you were 8.
mhm.
You jumped into TTRPGs and actual play, and it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons. What do you prefer? like, do you find that you're much more comfortable flexing your role playing skills when it's Dungeons and Dragons as opposed to something else, or do you just kind of adapt as best you can?
I try to adapt as well as I can. The funny thing is when I went into the Eden Falls, which was Tales from the Loop,
Mm-hmm.
is the style of TTRPG. Um, when I jumped into that, I was completely terrified because I was like, "Oh, there's no combat. There's
Right.
no like D&D staples."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I think my first scene was like Ed was like, as we approach the school, as the morning bell rings, kids are filing into school. We
Mm-hmm.
go to the roof, and there is Drake on his perch, and I was like, "What the hell am I supposed to do?" Like, I'm a kid in high school on a roof, and I was like, "Okay," um, but that style is very, or at least for the way we've done that style, it's been
Mm-hmm.
very character acting momently. So
Gotcha.
it's like mm, easier for me to jump into it as an actor, at least because
Mm-hmm.
it's like I just become the character, and then all the lines I give are like in the character, and then
Mm-hmm.
my actions are kind of like in character.
Right.
And it's less of being like, all right, now I have to figure out how like I'm flying through this area, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was really fun to do, but also going back to like D&D and actiony things. There was another one I played where I was a dog boy, like
Mm-hmm.
he was part husky, so um, and then I kind of based him on Aladdin, so he was like
Oh,
jumping
that's so
around.
cool.
Yeah, he was jumping around, and I was like, oh, so he like flips off this thing, and he like steals a little like hot dog, and he's eating the hot dog, and then later on, but then he's also a husky, so like every once in a while, he just goes like, "Arr, arr."
Just making noise for no reason.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
yeah,
So we're both part of Castleton. You are you play Prince Tyr in Castle, one of the Armas, one of the ruling cast of royals. You are the youngest prince. How did it
yep.
feel to know that you were part of Castleton when it first started, and that you were like one of the major characters in that show?
In terms of like the world, I would
Mm-hmm.
say it's like a major character. I don't know if on the show it's a major character because
Well,
there's so many characters and everyone's major, but like
yeah, yeah, I know,
yeah,
but let's.
but yeah, yeah. As a prince, um, it when I signed up for it, it was because of the right prince. When I signed up for it, it was because Becca Godsey, who
Mm,
was in Eden Falls, reposted AJ's thing,
mm.
and then I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." And Becca's like, "Do it, do it." I was like, "Okay." So then I was like, "Hey, I've only ever done one thing before, but
Mhm,
I'd be down if you want me." And then AJ did the little interview thing, and
mhm,
then I was
mhm.
like, "Oh, I want to play a half angel type character."
Okay.
And I kind of want to base them on Dread Pirate Roberts,
Oh,
Zorro, kind of Monte Cristo,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
something that's like swashbuckling sort of thing. And then so she was like, "Okay." Uh, and then I think she asked me like what colors I liked or
Mhm,
something, and I was like,
mhm.
black, purple, regal kind of colors.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she was like, "You're gonna be a prince from Arma." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So like one session and
You're
then
right.
we're done.
Or done.
And then she's
No.
like, "No, you're the prince. You have siblings." And like then we made up the whole thing,
Mhm,
and then it
mhm.
just kept blowing up. And I was like, "Oh, this guy is way bigger than I was expecting." And then I got sucked in really fast. And then the family, like Connor,
Mhm, mhm.
Janelle, and Gloria, like we bonded almost immediately because
Yeah,
like as
yeah.
soon as we had our group chat, I was like, "Hey, brother. Hey, sister." And then
Oh.
we just we just drove AJ nuts because we were like knew our whole backstory and going nuts with it. It was fun.
Oh, that's so cool. That's amazing. That's absolutely right. The best prince. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. So as Castleton went on, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger in season one. So for those who don't know, Castleton is an actual play that happens on Winter's Tales channel. And it happens every Saturday, and they are very long episodes. This could probably be broken up into like
Yeah.
19,000 seasons.
Yeah. I did a calculation during part 1,
Hmm.
because someone was talking about like, "Oh, this is like movie quality length," and I was like,
Yeah.
"This is 5 seasons worth of a TV show." Like,
Yes,
I was
a
like,
hundred
"If you cut
percent.
down the episode hours," I was like, "Every episode should be like 1 hour,"
Yeah, it's
and then every episode is really like 7 hours. I'm
7 hours.
like, this is insane."
It's happened so many times. I'm like, oh my god, this is like one entire season. Like these are seasons that we're watching in a 7 hour stretch on Twitch, and it's absolutely amazing. So if you wanted to, if someone came to you and said, look, you're in Castleton, you're in these other things, you're a Starion. I want to do what you do. Like I want to do the things that you. I want to be like Justice. What advice would you give them, like stepping into the TTRPG world?
I would say be kind.
Mm.
Um, that's usually be kind and be genuine. Like,
Okay.
don't like I don't in my entire career acting,
Mm.
cosplay, TTRPG, whatever it is, I don't really go out there and be like, "Hey, hey, hey, me, you want me?
Yeah,
Put me
yeah,
in this
yeah.
thing." Because that just always rubs me the wrong way.
Mm-hmm,
As
mm-hmm.
a person, it's always bothered me. Like, there's a level that I need to be a little bit better at that too, so I should be like, "Hey, I'm good for this. You want me? You should have me." But being needy and feeling like you're just using people to
Yeah.
get what you want is the wrong way to go. So I would say
Mm.
be genuine, be kind, also have some sort of skill to back it up. Uh, that kind of helps, like because otherwise you're just wasting everyone's time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can practice. You can practice costuming. You can
Mm-hmm.
practice photos easily. You have a
Mm-hmm.
phone, take some photos. I always hate when people say that for acting, but for modeling, it's easy. Like you can set up a
Right.
tripod and practice things. Um, and then for TTRPG, have some friends and play D&D for
Yeah.
fun, and then just see how you like it. Because some people may think they like it, but then when you're sitting down for 5 hours and doing something and like the story doesn't go the way you wanted or the way you thought it was gonna
Yeah,
go,
yeah,
you
yeah.
might get really pissed off. And I've played with a couple people where like when things didn't go their way, they got really angry, and
Really?
then it gets weird because you're like,
Ooh. So how do
yeah,
you?
man, I rolled bad too. Like
Yeah,
bad things happen.
that's what the dice do. That's just the way it
Yep.
is. If the dice are doing the dice thing, then look. Sometimes there are days where I'm rolling like all teens, like without
Yep.
fail, like never a single like
My
one
my
digit.
first role in Castleton was a 1, a nat
Yeah,
1, so it's like I
like
was like, my whole character went out the window from what I was expecting to do because I wanted to be suave and
right.
fancy, and then I was like, "Nope, I
Oh,
just fell
that's
down the stairs."
right. Yes, right. Oh yeah, because I remember it was like your intro, that whole introduction thing. Oh
Yep.
my, I'm so sorry.
I know, it's all good. It made for a better story, I think, because
Yeah.
it made me change the way that I wrote or portrayed him because I wanted him
Mm-hmm.
to be the suave, sexy guy, and then I was like, "Oh, he was more or less not abandoned, but, like, neglected by his whole family his whole life, so he's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a loner and doesn't really have that suave that he thinks he
Right,
has."
right.
So it was more fun to play that way anyway.
It was
Plus
definitely
other
good.
people played the suaveness, and I was like, "They're better at suave than me. I'll play the awkward. It's more fun."
It was so good. It was so good. Like even on the interaction with our characters, I was just like, oh my god! Like I feel like this character would be like so irritated by him. So, it was great. I loved it. So with all you've done so far, what are the worst sessions? Like, have you had a bad session where you're just like, I hate this. I don't like how my character went. I don't like how the scene went. I don't like anything about this. But it's now too late to change anything.
I've had that not so much in APs, but I've had
Mm-hmm.
it in real life
Okay.
where, like, a dynamic at, like, a table
Mm-hmm.
shifted over time because sometimes people get crushes on people, and then when they don't get their crush or whatever, they
Yeah,
just get
yeah.
really awkward at the table, and then they're passive aggressive the whole time, and then it's just you're just sitting there, and
So
you're
bad.
like,
Oh.
"Why? We coulda just had fun, but no."
Like now this sucks so bad. I hate
Yeah.
this.
And then
Oh my
I've
god.
had a couple sessions where, like, in APs where maybe something worked out for another character,
Hmm.
but another player wanted their thing to go a certain way, and it didn't go that way.
Right, right.
And then either the bleed of the character to them or just, like, they had so much, like, "I'm gonna do this," and they didn't get to do it, and then that made them butthurt, and
Okay.
then afterwards, it's like, "It's okay. It's a game,
It's
it's a
just
story, it's not really you, you're not the one that's
it's
going through
not
all
that
this."
big of a deal, and
Yeah.
honestly, it is what it is. It's like it's over now. New
Yeah,
game.
right.
um.
Yeah.
So when that's happened, how do you navigate you as other player kind of going like I don't know like how do you get that player to get back into either the game or get around how they're feeling.
I I don't know if it works, and I know a lot of times it comes off as, like, narcissism
Mm-hmm.
because 'cause I'll usually relate because I have a lot of stories, and one of my friends was like, "You've done everything," and I was like, "I mean, I kinda have," but, um,
I
uh
love it.
'cause he was like, "You've gone through this thing too?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had a long life. I've done a lot of things."
Yeah.
But I usually try to relate to them, and I'm like, "Yeah, it sucks, like, I've rolled like shit before, and,
Yeah.
like, my character went a completely different way, and then, like, a storyline went a completely different way than I was expecting, and now I have
Mm-hmm.
to, like, pivot to a different thing." And I was
Right.
like, "There's always choices you can make when bad things happen."
Right.
At least in, like, games. In real life, that's a different story. I feel the same way a little bit in real life, but not
Mm-hmm.
as optimistically. But, in games, at least, like, if it goes the wrong way, you always have the choice to be like, "I'm gonna fight this
Mm-hmm.
and be angry, or I'm gonna fight this and tell a different story that could be equally as fun." Like, I feel like, when I died in Castleton and Heather
Mm-hmm.
stepped in and took my life
Yes.
or switched with me,
Yeah.
that's not what she wanted. That's not at all, like,
Right.
what her plan was. It wasn't my plan, but I think as a storyline, it
Mm.
played really well, and, like, even afterwards, I had talked to Heather, and I was like, "I'm so sorry that, like,
Yeah.
your story's over because I fucked up and died." But she was like, "No, no, I think it made a good envelope for Cass, even though
Yeah.
I'm sure she's still like wants to be in the game and wants to like keep
Look,
telling Cass the story.
it would be lovely if we could continue Castleton, but sadly, it has to come to an end. It's just such a
Yeah,
big endeavor that it
yeah.
can't
I want it to
sustain
come to an
itself.
end for AJ's sake. I
Yeah,
feel so bad for
exactly.
her.
For AJ's sake, it cannot sustain. Like physically and mentally it cannot sustain. Like it can't be there. This is just not good look. It's great. I love it. I wish we could go on. Um,
Yep.
but and the only way that can happen is if millions of dollars fall into her lap, and she can
Yeah.
hire a bunch of people to do everything that she needs to get done. That's the
Yep.
only way that'll happen. So
Yeah.
it might happen. There's like a 3%
If
chance.
she was to continue it, I would want her to do it with like a third of the cast.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Mostly for her sake and also just for expedience of like story because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so many threads that it's like
I
it gets a
think
lot. So
it's a lot. And I think at this point, I think the the threads that are there right now um, should be the main
mhm,
plot, and like everything else that's been side stories that are coming to an end should stay ended. Um, you know, because anytime you have a big story like that, similar to Game of Thrones or
mhm,
similar to any of the period pieces I've seen on television, the smaller stories tend to die off, and then that's it, and that's great. um, so TTRPG in itself is growing. It's growing
yep.
oddly quicker than I thought it was. I did some research today and was looking at some analytics, and apparently it's becoming getting a larger following than normal than other subjects. What do you think this new growth and popularity is going to do to how the games are played and presented, and how actual players are coming in as professional players?
I think it's like threefold. So
Mm-hmm.
I noticed similar-ish to cosplay like 2010, 2011-ish
Mm-hmm.
when it got mainstream.
Yeah.
Um, and then it kind of exploded. There was TV shows. There was like
Oh
an
God.
MTV show about like cosplayers,
Yeah.
and then there was like celebrities doing cosplay, and it
Mm-hmm.
was this cool thing. But then it also like became a little toxic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was always toxic in its own self, but it became toxic in the way of like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna push these people down so that like my thing can be
Mm-hmm.
popular. And I fear that for TTRPGs. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
enough about the TTRPG sphere to
Mm-hmm.
know if that's true, but I've heard stories already that that's happening in some
Mm-hmm.
ways. And I can see that being the case if people start making a lot of money,
Yeah.
and then other
Yeah.
people aren't making a lot of money, but they want to make a lot. So it's like it always comes down to money with like people being like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
I could do this and like buy a house or something like that.
Like,
Um,
oh look, my Mercedes.
yeah. So there's always that like risk, but
Mm-hmm.
also I I hope because there's things I want to do with TTRPGs, especially now that I'm doing more of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's like cross media stuff. So
Okay.
like
Okay.
I told someone else like I don't care if anyone else does it because
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably still do my own, but like record the AP kind of like how we do Castleton
Mm-hmm.
pre-recorded, and
Mm-hmm.
then film a live action
Ooh.
segment where it's like acting out the stuff that happened in the session for like the action bits
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the like
Yeah.
exploratory bits, and like I think that would be a fun like cross thing.
Mm-hmm.
And things
Viva
like that I feel like
Viva La Dirtly does that.
yeah,
Yeah, with Robert Hartley, who
yeah,
does with
yeah,
Viva La Dirtly. They do something similar with green screen. That sounds amazing. That would be so like I'm now imagining like something like Castleton or what you've been in. Like, oh, okay. I mean,
yeah. I wanted to turn like Eden Falls into a cartoon because
oh, that'd be
the
so
way
good.
Ed narrates everything, I'm like, it already feels like a cartoon TV show sort of thing. And I was like,
Mm-mm.
we're playing kids in the 80s. This would be amazing, like
Oh,
little
that'd be so good. Oh,
afternoon cartoon sort of thing.
oh, now
Yeah,
I got all these visuals. You know, this Jesus,
yeah.
does
I
that
have a very
crazy?
like that's why I started doing the Castleton comic thing too.
Yeah, I saw
That I did
that.
for the Millie scene. I was like, oh, this will make an interesting comic book. And so I was like, let me try that out.
It'd be so good. Oh my god, it'd be
But then I'm like, I
amazing.
can't draw a full comic because just doing those 3 pages took me like 2 months.
Are you serious?
Well, because I was doing a bunch of other stuff in between, so I'd like
Okay.
do it for a day, come back and do it for. But If I was making money off of it, I'd be different because I'd be like,
If
oh, it's
yeah,
a
because
job.
you'd sit there for
Yeah,
6 to 8 hours a day drawing.
yeah.
Um, so do you plan on streaming and doing actual plays as a full time endeavor, or is it just always going to be a side thing?
I think if I ever make money off of it, because right now everything's been free.
Of
um,
course.
if I ever made money off of it, it would definitely take more of a priority. But for
Okay.
now,
Okay.
it's because everything I've been doing has been like, hey, can you do this charity one? Or like
Mm,
Castleton, it's all free. So it's more of a side thing for now.
okay.
But I would love it if it was more of a full time thing,
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
because it's rewarding, it's fun, it's creative, it's all the things that I like to do. So
Right.
it's fun.
And also, apparently, it's giving you like a freaking leg up in your professional career, which is
Yeah, it is.
amazing. And you're like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing? And how are you getting so good?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's TNT. Um, so
It's funny, my classmates were just like, "I don't understand. How did you that was like it changed so much." I was like, "You have no idea. Last night I had to do an act for Eden Falls, there was a
mm,
scene where I went in a VR headset and then I
mm,
had to relive my mom dying and like burning alive because my character's backstory was he accidentally killed his mom in a house fire. Um, and watched it and then like had the guilt of living with it and his mom his brother and or his
oh
father and
my
sister
god!
like held it against him. And so Ed was like, "Yeah, you get to relive that today." So I was like, so I redid that, and then I went back to class the next day, and I was like, "Yeah, so let's do this scene where I'm a
What
I'm
the?
a deadbeat husband." I was like,
Oh my
"I have all
god!
this stuff." Yeah.
Justice, Jesus! Oh my god! Alrighty then. So, well, then that brings me to the next question: how do you balance adulting in your regular life and acting and TTRPG, the TTRPG community?
Luckily, most of my adulting is freelance, so
Okay.
it's acting, it's doing art, it's doing
Mm,
whatever random jobs I can get.
mm,
So
mm,
luckily, I have a little bit more freedom than I would say majority of people do. So in that sense, it's good. So I don't really
gotcha.
have to stress too much. I do stress a lot because like freelance, you're always stressed because you're like, last month I made an okay amount of money. This month I haven't made any money. Like so you start stressing and then you're like, but for the most
Yeah.
part right now it's okay to like balance.
Okay.
And I haven't had too many times. I've only had like one or two where I've had to cancel a stream that I was supposed to be on or
Mm,
like an episode I was supposed to be on because Eden Falls is live too, so that makes it even
yeah.
more stressful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've only had to cancel one of those because I had a job the same day.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So,
Yeah.
with you're like I said, we know you from all these lovely action plays, and we know I've been watching your. I went through your IMDb. And it was like, oh, let's watch this. So I've seen you and stuff. So with this rise of popularities, people have turned to Twitch and YouTube, and decided to take their home play tables to make into actual plays.
Mhm.
Um, what is your your thoughts on people trying to make home play tables or their home campaigns into actual plays? And do you think this should be a thing that should happen?
I think it depends.
Okay.
Um, because I've played with a lot of different uh, DMs over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say only two of them would make good actual play
Okay.
GMs, whereas the rest are really fun to play with. But like when I'm playing with them, it's more of just like a you turn down a corridor and you see a treasure chest. What do you do? And it's not really like a
Yeah. Yeah.
storyteller kind of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thing. And I think if you can have an amazing fun time playing that way because
Mm-hmm.
that's how I played most of my like
Right.
younger childhood. And I was like, this is great. And then when people would like act out the scenes with
Mm-hmm.
me when the whole table's not acting out, it'd be really weird. Like a guy would walk in, he's like, "Who has come into my house?" And I was like, yeah, I'm here to like open the chest." Like he's playing all in character, and I'm just like, yeah, my guy walks over there, opens the chest. Like it's a weird. So if your home table doesn't play like an actual play,
Mm-hmm.
trying to convert it into an actual play is, for me personally, I feel like that'd be weird.
Okay. Okay.
But also at the same time, you could have on Twitch because like I didn't think people would watch my art streams. I'm sure people would like to watch people just play like normal
Mm-hmm.
people play without having to do all the characters and all the voices and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
all the emotion and all that stuff too. So I really don't know.
What advice then would you give someone who is converting their home table into an actual play, and they're trying to encourage their table to be more into the role play that they're not accustomed to.
Yeah, I would check with them first,
Yeah.
see if they're like down with doing that. Because some people are really like they're like, yeah, yeah, but then when they get on camera, they're like,
Uh,
yeah, and so they just get
I'm
too much
going
stage fright.
to, yeah. Uh,
Yeah, exactly. So I would check with them first to
okay.
make sure that that's really what they want to do. Like I did a podcast for a little. I don't really like podcasts, but my roommates and some friends did a podcast at my house. So I
Hmm.
was on one of those, and we did like 3 of them, but they had no structure. They were just like
Okay.
us sitting around a table talking. Um, and then after a while, we're like, we don't really, none of us really like doing this. Like, it's fun talking to each other and it's
Yeah.
fun like, doing all that, but like, what's
Hmm.
the point? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So I think if you want to convert it into an actual play sort of thing, do a couple tests, record a bunch of
Hmm.
episodes, watch them back, be like, is this actually something that we like doing, or is it just we're trying to do it because it's the popular thing?
Right. Right.
Because if you're doing it because it's the popular thing, but you're not actually into it or not
Hmm.
doing it well, then you're just going to stress yourself out, waste a bunch of time, waste a bunch of
Yeah.
money, and you're just going to crash yourself out. So I would do tests.
Okay.
I do it
Fair.
with my
Fair.
art. I do tests. I do sketches before I do
Really.
my art. I do like with my characters that I do in acting. I do either a voice or like
Mm.
an intention. And I'm like, oh, this guy's really angry. What if I try being really seductive?
Mm.
And then
Okay.
I do it. And I'm like, he's definitely not seductive here. He's
This
very
is
much
the
an asshole.
wrong play.
Yeah.
This is the.
So I
It's so
think always
funny
good to
because
do tests.
I was when I was like thinking about who asked me was the character in Castles, and I was like, she's really loving. I'm like, nope. And I tried it so many times. Like, this seems so wrong. Like, it feels weird. So I get it. Like, as someone who's becoming very popular in the TTRPG community, you obviously may have encountered some obstacles or something that's happened early on. What are some early encounter like obstacles you've encountered at your early tables as you started doing this?
There's a uh, there's someone I used to play with
Mm-hmm.
who had a whole huge scandal blowout that happened last year, and we played together. And I thought like, oh, he's a cool guy. He likes me. I like him. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have fun. We play together.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I met him in person, I met him at one of the conventions when I was a Starian. So he was like showing me off to people, or at least I
Yeah.
felt like he was showing me off to
Mm-hmm.
people, sort
Mm-hmm.
of. But also he had his little entourage. And then the thing he said to me was, I think he said something like, "Justin's the most frustrating person I've ever had to play with, because he just goes with anything, and I can't tell if he's like a genuinely nice person or if he's just playing a nice person or whatever it was." And then I was like, "That's a weird thing to say on our first time meeting in person in front of a
Yeah.
bunch of people." And I was like, I just kind of laughed it off. I was like, "Ah, yeah."
Okay.
And then like the next day, the whole scandal blew up, and I was just
Mm-hmm.
like,
Oh.
"Okay, so he was talking shit. Like he
Oh,
wasn't
it was
just
one of those
like,
moments you're like, oh, you're projecting.
yeah, yeah, pretty much."
Yeah. Um, we won't
But I think
ask.
that was
I have
probably
an
like my
idea who it
worst.
might be, but I'm not gonna ask because
I can tell you on DM.
I know I have an idea who this is because it's around what you're saying. It makes sense. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I
so
almost got him a job with Larian too, which like blew up the next day, and I was just like, nope, don't hire him.
like change my mind. Don't, nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope. Oh my gosh. So we have gotten to a portion of the show which I love to do because I say this all the time. I will say it in every single stream. Criticism leads to growth. And I will
Mhm,
continue for the life of me to criticize WotC till they get their shit together. So that's how I feel. Wizards of the Coast,
mhm.
they've done some things recently and in the past. Some missteps, some redesigns, other things that they've done that have rubbed some of their consumers and customers the wrong way. Some people seem to have liked it. Um, what do you think of the direction that they're going, especially with the new PHB that's come out and the Monster Manual? And do you agree with what they've done so far?
I am one of the worst people to ask. No, not
Why?
not that I'm the worst person to ask, but, like, every game I've played in D&D, even since I was, like, 8, has
Hmm.
been a homebrew. So, it's been like, we have the player's handbook, but I never really looked into it. I was just like,
Okay.
"Okay, these are stats I have to have,"
Hmm.
and then I threw the book away. I was like, "I don't care anything about, like, the history of the elves because 'cause I'm gonna make up my own history for the
Yeah, yeah,
world," and
yeah.
then the DMs always made up their own histories,
Hmm.
and,
Hmm.
um, like, I played a half elf one time, I played a half dragon one time, I played a or, like, not a dragonborn, I just was like, "He's a dragon who can turn into a human," and
Oh,
that was
that's
the
so
character I played.
cool. Okay.
Um, and then I played a half vampire, half elf thing, and then Ace of Mars, and so, like, I know Wizards of the Coast changes their rules and they rewrite certain things, but I don't really know what they've done because I never paid attention to them in the first place. So it's like, yeah, they seem like they're doing some crappy things, but, like, just write your own stories and make your own games. Like,
Well,
it's
then
just the
that
way
brings
I've
me
always
to my
played.
next question then. Are you
Yeah.
ever going to DM? Because I feel like you would make a great storyteller. I want to find out what that would look like. Do you think you'd
I
ever DM?
I've thought about it a few times, but then I've watched my friends DM and, like, the amount of work they put into it,
Hmm.
just, like, creating the world, creating, like, the cities, creating all
Hmm.
the NPCs, and I think I would have fun doing it, but I also don't know if I would have the time or patience to sit down and do all the prep work beforehand,
Yeah, yeah.
or if I would just go in and be like, "Alright, let's wing it. Yeah, you're in the city of Farview, and you see some things. Go." And then I'm just and then from there, I would create but, like, I don't know. I think if I do this for another couple years,
Hmm.
definitely DM, because I would have more experience and I would have more interactions with different people and how they play.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
feel like that would inform how I'd wanna, like, m create my world and story to let
Hmm.
people go in and mess around with it and break it and do whatever they wanna do with it. But at this point right now, I don't have any confidence that I
Oh,
could do
I
it.
want to. I want to.
Maybe a one shot.
This
I
needs
could maybe do a one shot.
exactly, Clem. I wanted to. We need to find. We need to figure out a way to get justice to DM a table because I need to be at this table one to even if we get somebody to write the goddamn one shot,
Mhm.
like, and then hand it to you and go.
Yeah, that could be fun. I could see doing a one shot. I tried to do a one shot for my birthday a few years
Hmm.
ago. Like, I wasn't DMing, my girlfriend had our friend who was a DM a one shot, and it ended up being like 3 sessions because we couldn't finish it in one. So, it wasn't really a one shot, it was a 3 shot.
It's still
But
it's still
yeah,
fun. It's still fun. You're like, I want this
yeah.
to happen. This needs to happen. We're gonna figure out a way to. We're gonna make this happen. If you were in charge over at Wizards of the Coast, with what you know from other DMs, experience and how they feel about it, what would you do differently to make it more, I guess, palatable to consumers?
There's a few things. Like, they run D&D Beyond, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, for D&D Beyond, I would definitely, like, change the pricing aspect of it, because like,
Yes.
I don't use D&D Beyond because I hate how they charge for everything, and, like, every
Mm-hmm.
little thing has, like, an extra charge, and I'm just like, "This is stupid." You should either have one
Thank,
price that gives you everything,
thank
like,
you.
all the handbooks, everything like that,
Everything.
as, like, a online view,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you can screenshot it or whatever if you want to, like, steal it, but having to pay for all the manuals is annoying,
yeah.
if it's not a physical copy thing. If you're already paying for the D&D, like, it's just the
It
whole
does.
structuring pricing structuring
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make sense to me for that. And then, like, I would stop using AI. I don't know if they're still using AI. I know they did for a while, they were using AI
They're
art.
still using it. They're just not saying
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, of course. I would definitely
Hmm.
shift away from that because one of the huge things that I liked, especially as a kid, for like Wizards of the Coast, like Magic cards and D&D books and everything was like the art. I would just look through the book for the art.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and go to the website and look at the art. But like if they're using AI, then it's just turns me off on them completely because
It's
how are
weird.
you going to shit on all the artists that you've had for
For
decades?
right.
And
Also, AI is weird.
uh,
It just
yeah,
so
it is.
AI. It looks so like people are like it's so beautiful. I'm like there's something weird about it. Like
It is,
you
yeah.
don't feel how I've seen AI art over and over again. I say to myself every single time, there's something about it, even when it's accurate, that seems off, and I don't
Mhm.
like that feeling. I hate it. It makes give me
Yeah.
a visceral reaction. I don't like it.
And
Um,
I've heard some things, from Larian about Wizard of the Coast, but I don't think I can repeat any of them. Um, but they, uh, they definitely rubbed me the wrong way just from dealing with them
mhm,
with Baldur's Gate and
yeah.
everything. Especially, like, after Baldur's Gate got
Mm,
popular, and they were like, "Oh, look at all the Baldur's Gate things we have now," and, like,
uh,
"Here's Astarion, and here's this and that," and it's like, "Cool.
okay.
Cool, 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 cool,
Cool, cool.
cool."
Got it, got it, got it, got it.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna be over here now.
yeah.
If you invented magic, whether it's in TTRPGs or in a D&D setting, or for
I've done a few
funsies,
of that.
um,
Yeah.
how would it be different from what we've seen or played so far? And how would you make it better?
Oh, better? Like,
Hmm.
as a gameplay mechanic or,
Yes,
like, as a
as a
world style?
let's go with start with gameplay mechanic, and we'll switch to world.
I would make so gameplay mechanic wise, um, D&D I don't usually play spellcasters in D&D because
Okay.
I don't like the components aspect of having to
Hmm.
use things, which most DMs get rid of anyway because 'cause they're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, "That's a hassle."
It's a pain in the
Like, you
ass.
have to have a diamond plus a twig plus
I'm not
this,
doing
the
that.
yeah,
Like,
it's
if
too
you're ever
much.
playing my games, I'm not doing that. Like I always say,
Yeah.
like, look, if you're a spellcaster, you have some type of focus, and in that focus is all the shit that you need for your fucking spell. Leave me alone.
Yep, yeah. I would add more, different styles of magic.
Hmm, hmm,
So, like, say it's like chakra, like how they have the monks that have key points.
hmm,
But I
hmm.
would use the key points differently. I would make it part of like your stamina or energy. So like
Ooh,
once you
okay.
use it, you get a little tired. So like you can't move as far, or like
Hmm.
you can't like your attacks take less damage, or your
Okay.
attacks do less damage because you've expended so much energy doing the
Hmm.
spell through your chi. And same for like spellcasters
Okay. Okay.
who aren't using a wand or anything. But then maybe like if you're using conduit to do magic, it would be more you have
Mm.
which is basically spell slots, but it would be contingent on your items and not your level,
Okay.
which
Okay.
would probably annoy some people, but I feel like if you don't have magic in you and you're using an item to do the magic, then it should be through the item, not through you
Yeah.
as that kind of a spellcaster. But then no one would probably want to play that spellcaster, so maybe that would be bad, but I don't know.
I mean, you
I
can
like
try it. I mean, Connor is in the chat making a one shot for you, so maybe
oh shit.
you can do a homebrew. Connor, just saying. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like, I like mechanics that make sense in the
Mm,
world, and I like character progressions,
yeah, yeah.
through storytelling. So, like, if you're a wizard or whatever, and you have an item that sends like can do one fireball because of his ring of fire, and he can shoot
Hmm.
fireballs, but like he can only do a certain amount before the ring explodes or before the ring drains of power, and then he has to recharge the ring, almost like a Green Lantern. Um,
Start
so that
writing, people.
Yeah, that would be more fun for me than just being like, "Oh, he's a second level wizard, he can shoot fireball twice." Um, and then later on, you get a better ring because you learn
Mm,
alchemy or you learn, I forget what it's called for making jewelry, but, uh, being able to, like, build
metallurgy.
things. Yeah, yeah. Being able to build things that
Mm, mm.
improve your skills as you keep playing, I think is more fun than just being like, "Oh, I leveled up, so now I can do more," or like, "Oh, I found this magic sword, so I can do" like, building the character as you go is
Yeah,
more
yeah.
fun for me.
Oh, I love that.
And then I had a story I was writing a long time ago where it was in the future, but it was, like, retro futuristic, so, like, the
Hmm,
world
hmm.
exploded, and so then it's, like, 2,000 years in the future, and magic was around, but the magic was actually, like, nanobots in the air that, like, sucked out all the electricity of the world,
Oh,
and
cool.
then people had things inside of them they didn't realize, but that just, like they do sigils, but it's basically just, like, telling the nanobots, like, "Make a fireball,"
Oh,
and
this is
then, like,
cool.
it was really fun, like, I was trying to figure out a way to, like, make the future be scientific, but also be fantasy, so it was, like, a fun way to do that, and then they could find conduits that would make those spells stronger, like weapons or something that would channel the nanobots through the weapon and then do the magic.
Okay, are you guys writing this down? Someone needs to write this down. It's okay. We're gonna. I'll clip it. So so we need the story exactly, exactly. I love it. Let's just say that you have a group of friends. You and a group of friends are stuck on a desert island, and all you get to do is play either D&D or some TTRPG for 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I have an idea for what you just said. What setting are you playing or running?
I would probably play homebrew D&D ish, uh, martial arts centric sort of fantasy
Ooh,
thing. Yeah, because that's
ooh.
my like bread and butter.
So
So
you said
that's what I would do.
okay. You said martial arts
Yeah.
a couple of times. What martial arts do you do?
My dad's a third degree Japanese jiu-jitsu, so
Oh wow.
he taught me
Okay.
that when I was little. And then I went into Taekwondo and karate, Kenpo,
Mm-hmm.
did five animal kung fu, but I have my black belt in Taekwondo, and I used to compete in wushu, uh,
Mm-hmm.
not professionally, I guess professionally, until I like ripped my Achilles, and then I kind of retired. But done a lot.
Oh, my leg
I
hurts.
moved a lot, so I had to learn a lot.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
time I
yeah.
moved, I learned a
Oh
new
my
style.
gosh. So
Yeah.
you're very prolific in martial art. I only know one. That's it. That's it. We know one. That's it. and we after this one, not doing this anymore. Uh, 'Cause I also manage a damn thing, so that's fine. Um, if all this, everything that you're doing, um, you came to teach RPGs and you've become like really good at being an action player. People kind of like reach out to you to be at their tables. Have you, I guess, been immersed in the world of it so much so that you might be a mini collector or a dice goblin?
I I'm a very big. You can kind of see behind me.
Yep.
Statue collector.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I have a few minifigs, and then I have a 3D printer, like a resin printer. So my goal was originally to like make cosplay stuff and
Ooh.
minifigs and print them and then paint them.
Okay.
But I never learned how to model very well, so I never it got to that point. Um, but I do have a few minifigs. I was collecting when I was playing in person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like almost 10 years ago now. I was collecting a lot of minifigs and like monsters and
Mm-hmm.
things. Um, but now I guess it's just dice. Yeah, I have like 5 sets of dice.
Five.
Yeah,
Rude.
I need way more. I need more.
We need listen. This needs to be a habit. There need to be bags of dice
Yeah, I need
everywhere.
to get some from Equinox, from Stefan, from Whitney. Yeah,
Whitney, beautiful dice. I
yeah.
love Whitney's dice. I do. Um, you're also like behind the scenes a little bit. You help with art, like I said. You are a digital artist as well. Is there a vast difference between what you do behind the screen as opposed to in front of the screen, and which one do you prefer?
Hmm. I'm a Leo and an actor, so I like being in front of the screen. um, but I do like when I do things behind the screen, like especially for art and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I do like how also a pretty big introvert, so I don't go out very much. I like to stay home. So
Pause. Pause. Okay, those two sentences don't go together. I'm an introvert and like to be in front of the screen. I mean, that doesn't work. You understand? Like, I'm an introvert and like to be in front of the screen. Don't go together.
yeah, I know. I hear that a lot. Uh, but it's it's different. Like being in front of the screen as myself is
Mm,
more uncomfortable, but when I'm in front of the screen as like a character, it's different
yeah,
because I'm playing a character. And also especially on set. It kind of
mm-hmm.
happens on TTRPGs, but it's a little weird when it's through a camera,
Yeah, yeah.
because you don't have like the physical presence of being near people. Um, but there's a there's a connection and a bond of like telling a story together or like working on something. Even when I work on set, I like try to make friends with everyone who's on the crew, like
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
camera, the lighting, the grip, catering. Even I'm just like, hey, how's it going? Because I feel like we're all working together to create something, even if we don't really care about the thing we're creating.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you work on jobs where you're acting, you're like, I'm here for a day, I have one line, I don't really
I
like
don't
know
know.
what's going on,
Like this is
but
all I'm
we're
doing.
creating something and it's fun. And so there's a bond there, and like the introvertness kind of it's still there, but it's different because it's like we're
Mm,
all in it together.
gotcha.
But it's like when I go to events and things, I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna be in the corner. Just like don't talk to me. um, and then doing art and stuff at home. I
Hmm.
When I was working comics, a lot of times I would just take my entire computer and put it by my bed, and then
Really?
I would have my like Cintiq, and I'd take it off the table and I'd have
Hmm.
it on my lap in bed. So I like wake up and do art, and then I'd put it back and I go to sleep. That was also because my deadlines were ridiculous, but
Fair, fair. Okay.
just like being home and doing that kind of stuff is peaceful and
Hmm. Hmm.
relaxing. So that's
Okay.
always kind of nice.
Okay, fair, fair. So I've always thought that people who um, do TTRPGs, whether you're GMing or actual play, that you wear multiple hats, even if you're just doing actual play. You're
Yeah.
directing yourself. You kind of in a weird way are producing yourself.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're involved with editing, artistry, whatever. Um, where do you see yourselves in the roles I've just mentioned, and do you plan on branching out into any of these in the future?
For TTRPG specifically, APs, I
APs
could
or acting in general.
in acting in general, I've done pretty much everything except for direct. I
Okay,
think
okay.
like I've been a PA, I've been a camera op, I've worked as like a grip, I've done set design, I've done pretty much everything. I haven't done costume,
Hmm.
um, costuming and directing. I think are the only two things I haven't really done.
Hmm. Hmm.
Producing, I've even done a little bit because I was helping producers, but like I wouldn't be able to produce anything on my own. Um, but in that sense, I prefer being on camera and
Hmm.
at most maybe directing at some point.
Okay, okay.
Because everything else, like I can do it, but I don't really enjoy it. Like it's
Uh,
fun to do. It's just not something that like oh because I know a lot of camera people who are like they love. They're like this is an amazing shot. This is a great shot. It's like I'm like okay yeah that's a cool look.
it looks
We could do that
nice.
over there.
Yeah, I have a friend like that.
Um,
She's like,
yeah
"You see this camera? It's so cool." Like, and I'm like, "It's a nice camera."
yeah.
Like, I don't know.
For APs though, I would say like acting obviously is or
Hmm.
playing in them is a lot of fun. DMing at some point I think would be fun.
Hmm.
Producing one may be fun. Like I could see that being a lot of stress
Yes.
and annoying, but also like creating a storyline or
Hmm.
a thing
Yeah.
and gathering the people, putting it out there, and then like letting people watch. I think I would get joy out of that, even if I
Okay.
was like stressed doing it. But I feel like I made something and I got
It's
all these
so
people to
good.
make it with me.
It's
It would
it's one of the best feelings. Like when it happens
yeah
and it's done, you're like, during it, you're like, I don't know what to do that, and but after it's done, you're like, oh, that was cool.
yeah.
It's a very cool, it's a very cool thing. So as an actor, most actors that I know, who have interacted who are my friends, say that they prep for whatever role they're gonna do. Do you prep for not only your regular acting gigs but also for actual plays? Do you prep those characters beforehand, or do you just go in kind of dry and blind?
I do both. I'm trying to be better at prepping for actual plays because
Okay.
I'm also pretty lazy. I'm trying not to be lazy. It's something my teacher keeps calling out on me in my acting class too. He's like, "Don't be
Mm.
lazy." I'm like, "I know, but like, do I have to?"
But
um,
but sleep is lovely.
yeah. So for Eden Falls, since it was my first one, I didn't know what I
Mm.
was going into, and they were just like, "Okay, you're this guy." So I based him mainly on a more idealized version of myself when I was a kid, I guess,
Okay,
except
okay.
for the fact that my mom was dead because I killed her.
Yeah,
But like,
and then you have to relive it, which is I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah, but even that, the way she died was like from my when I was a
Right.
kid, I was like homeless for a little while and I lived on a boat because a
Mm-hmm.
friend of ours, or a friend of my dad's, like let us live on his boat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I caught fire on the boat because all we had was candles. There was like no electricity. And so I took that as like the backstory of like, oh, there was a power outage and my guy caught fire because he got lit by a candle. And then the mom came in and tried to put it out, but then the house went up.
Oh my
Um,
god.
so I took that. So like it was kind of character development. And then like I made him basically me, but more of a jock. But he also
Mm-hmm.
did martial arts. His dad was a martial artist, and like, so it was a lot of similarities. So it was easier to like do that. And with Castleton, it was
Mm-hmm.
mainly because Connor and Janelle and Gloria and all of us were just like
Mm-hmm.
going back and forth. Like what
Right.
did we do as kids? What was the relationship like? Oh, you were gone for 10 years? I was like, okay, well, I'm the youngest man and it's a matriarchy. So
Right.
I was just raised to be like a pageant piece to like go out there and secure a wife for the family because that's all
Right.
that I'm really good for. And I just read a bunch of books and poetry and I hid in the trees and like so it was more of like that kind of thing. And then for
Mm-hmm.
other ones that I've kind of jumped in on, I'm like, I don't know even what this game is. So like here's a very basic outline of the character. And then
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
get in there, I just figure it out like based on how other people are acting. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is the kind of world we're going for. Then I
Right.
just go with that. Um, but I'm trying to get better. Like for we have a sequel to Eden Falls that takes place
Mm-hmm.
14 years later. So I'm
Okay.
like, okay, I have the same character, but he's
Mm-hmm.
30 now and not 16.
Mm-hmm.
And he went through a lot of shit where he was a prisoner of war and like had to torture people. And so like I should probably write a lot of backstory for this guy now, as opposed to just being like, yeah, it's the same guy, but 14 years later. Um, yeah,
What the hell? Okay,
yeah.
you need to keep me updated on the second because I need to find out what I need to see this. I need to see this
It's a good
because
show. It's a good show.
yeah, I need a link. I need a link because
Yeah, I'll
what the
send it to you.
hell? Thank you.
Yeah.
What the heck is
Ed
happening?
Ed makes crazy stories,
Oh my
and then he likes to
god!
torture me.
Clearly, like freaking war stories and matricide. I mean, we did the matricide thing, but still,
True, yeah.
Um, what are some of the life lessons that you learned from gaming and from action plays?
Ooh, that's interesting. I think there's a few, but one of them goes back to what I was saying before about when things don't go your way to
Mm-hmm.
like not spiral and
Right.
take it personally.
Right.
Like there's a difference when someone slights you and it's intentional,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and when things just don't go your way
Yeah.
and there's nothing you can really do, which I already kind of had that mentality because I got shingles when I was like 17.
Oh
And
wow.
so the
Wow.
doctors told me like if you stress, it'll come back. So I spent like 10 years never stressing, which kind of
Fair.
screwed me up because it made me like not have emotions for 10 years. Um, but in the games, especially like these things,
Mm-hmm.
so many things go against you, especially when you're rolling dice and it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
got a one, I got a
Yeah.
one, I got a one
Oh my god.
over and over. And you're just like, well, shit, today sucks.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not your fault all the time.
Yeah. Sometimes
And
it's just the dice are just the dice, and
yeah, and you can always make something fun out of it, like not to do the old like make lemonade out of lemons kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
but basically like if things go the wrong way, just all right, we're gonna go this way and see what happens.
Right.
Hopefully it's good, and if it's not, then we're gonna have to go this way and see if that's good. And if not, then we'll just keep trying because there's gonna be something somewhere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Um,
So that's one of the things.
I love that. I love that. Do you think
Yeah.
that when the times where your character, because of the role, didn't get to do something that um, you thought, like, after everything's done, the cameras are shut off, you're chilling out, you're thinking about the character, maybe sporadically, kind of go, "Crap! I wish I'd have done that," or "I wish I'd have said that." Do you have
Yep.
moments like that where you're like, "I should have said this line. I should have done this thing."
Even most recently,
Mm-hmm.
our fight.
Oh yeah.
um, there was there's some things I was talking about it with the family,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Connor and them, um, about how I think Scotty, who
Mm-hmm.
plays Lysander in Castleton,
Mm-hmm.
had a video recently about how to up your APs
Yeah. Yeah.
with descriptions. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, you could always say like, I pull out my sword and I attack, and he's like, or I kind of mentioned it before. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you go into more depth and stuff. And so like, when I pulled out my daggers to attack Sora after you mind controlled me,
Mm-hmm.
um, in my head I had all these plans of things I was gonna say, like
Mm-hmm.
the little thing flicks in my brain, and then I
Mm-hmm.
see Sora and I see her as a danger, and then that makes me want to be like, I won't let you destroy Arma, and I go to my bracer and I pull out two ethereal daggers, just form out of thin air above my bracer, and then I throw them at her. And in the moment, I was like, I won't let you destroy Arma, and I throw my daggers at her. And that was it. And afterwards, I was like, I gotta get better at being descriptive in the
Yeah.
moment and like
Oh.
not.
Oh, there was
So
yeah. Oh my god, I feel that because there was a moment at like when right when you kill me where I was just like, so I already knew in my head, like in my head, I was like, this character's gonna die. It's just the way
yeah,
it is. But
I
there
wasn't
was
expecting to be the one to do it.
I me either, but there was a moment I was just like I thought about it later, where I was just like, oh, I should have just like grabbed him as I was about to cast Enemies Abound and go, um, don't trust your brother or something. I wanted to like put like
Oh.
a little something in there, and I didn't do it. And it wasn't until afterward I thought about it. I was like, oh well then.
Yeah, yeah. There's a
Oh,
lot of I do a lot of that even, like, on regular acting
mm-hmm,
jobs. Like, I used to have, before COVID,
mm-hmm,
I would have to go to auditions in person a lot because that's the way you
right.
audition, and in LA, it's, like, an hour drive to get there, an hour drive to get back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, on the drive back, almost after every single audition, I'd be in my car being like, "Why didn't I do this?" Like, "Why didn't I do that?" And I'd be like, "I
Oh
just gotta let it
yeah.
go," but it'd always be, like, replaying in my head, like, "Oh,
Yes, yes.
I could have done it more like this, and that would have been so much better." Like, um but that same thing happens with APs every time I play. I'm like, "Ah, if only I had done this, that thing would have changed," or like, "This would have been so much cooler if I said that." But I
Oh
think
man.
experience will help with that, I'm hoping.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
my confidence, because my first few sessions of Eden Falls especially, I was just like, "Mm, oh,
yeah.
should I talk now? Okay," and then I would
Yeah,
go into it.
I will say this, especially with Castleton. I've been in other APs, but especially with Castleton, I feel like it has made me go really think about what I'm going to say, and what
Mhm.
and think of like the tangents that may happen. So that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Kind of helps with my DMing a little bit, but we'll get into that. So I've always thought that you need a kind of like, and I've noticed this in a lot of actual players, but some actors as well. Because my sister's an actor. I have friends who are actors.
Mhm.
Um, they tend to be introverts, like you said. Like you said yourself, were an introvert. Um, but you also have this personality or trait or strength of you that allows you to be in this industry. What trait that you think that there is that should be would allow someone to be successful at doing either APs or acting or anything like that?
I think there's a few. One that's really important, um, that I'm still working on myself, is confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the main things that'll make you successful pretty much at anything in life,
Yeah, yeah.
just confidence. But I preface that with, like, not overconfidence
Yes.
or, like, false
Okay.
bravado kind of,
Mm-hmm.
uh, things, because I knew a lot of people like that when I was younger. I grew up My dad was a butler for some
Mm-hmm.
billionaires, so I lived in kind of a rich area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everyone around me was stupid and just rich, but because they were rich, thought they were amazing, and they all had this fake confidence that would
Mm-hmm.
drive
Mm-hmm.
me nuts. And then because of that, I went the opposite route and
Yeah.
became super humble to the point of detriment where I would
Mm-hmm.
just depreciate myself all the time.
Okay.
So I'm trying to break that cycle and become
Mm-hmm.
more confident, but not egotistical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think confidence in whatever you do, just be confident. Even if you're wrong, be confident in the choice you made, and then be like, "Oh, I was wrong,"
Right. Right.
and just accept it. But, like, don't be like, "Well, I think maybe I could," because it's you're just gonna be stuck in the middle, and that's where I've been for a long time. So I'm trying to
Okay.
get past
Okay.
that. And then the other thing is perseverance, like,
Okay.
especially creative fields, acting, coloring, or
Mm-hmm.
arty, drawing, APs, whatever it is, there's so much against you.
Yeah. Oh my
um
God. Yes.
Especially if you're not already in, like, a group. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if you have access to things, it's a lot easier. Like, nepo babies always complain about, like, I had to work hard. It's like, you
Yeah.
might have had to
Did
work
you?
hard, but you have the access that other
Yeah.
people don't have
Yeah.
from the start. And so the perseverance comes in of being like, I may not have the access, I may not have the skill yet, I may not have the connections yet, I may not have the confidence yet even,
Yeah.
but I can get there eventually. And persevering through all the struggles of being like, okay, I can get past this, I can do
Right.
this.
Okay.
Hopefully, it will get you there. There's no guarantee anything in life isn't
Yeah.
guaranteed. So, like, even perseverance and confidence isn't guaranteed to make you good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Being kind isn't guaranteed to make you liked by everybody. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, nothing is gonna really do it. But those two, I think, are most important to staying with it, because there's a
Okay.
lot of people I've seen that have been really talented,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but then after so many rejections, they're like, "I can't take it anymore," and they leave.
Oh,
I
well, that's
used to
heartbreaking.
I know. I used to make fun of it when I was a kid, because I started acting when I was little, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
was used to rejection from, like, a little kid because you go to an audition, they're like, "You're too short," or like, "You're too
Okay.
young," or whatever it was. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Okay." So by the time I got to high school, I would like ask girls out on dates, and they would say no. I'd be like, "Okay," and they're like, "Aren't you heartbroken?" I'm like, "I'm used to the rejection. It's fine." um, so like,
Oh my
getting used to
god.
rejection helps a lot too.
So I've you touched on something that I don't normally ask this question too often, but you've touched on it a little bit. A lot of actual players and people in the TTRPG community are not only neurodivergent but have this very much. Uh, I don't want to call it a humble personality, like a very much like overly humble personality. Um,
Mhm.
do you think that with its the popularity to RPGs that this will be becoming a thing of the past, or that people like that will be pushed out?
I could see them being pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it being a thing of the past per se, but I do see sharks coming in more,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or people that are like more of the egotistical types coming
Mm-hmm,
in to be
mm-hmm.
like, "This is my space. I'm the amazing one. You get out of here."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
usually those people do good in short terms.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like they'll burn really bright because they have so much confidence and presence that people are like, "Oh
Yeah.
wow, they're really neat. They're shiny." But
Shiny
then
new thing.
yeah, their personalities usually come out, and then people
Mm-hmm.
are like, "Oh, they're a horrible person,
Yeah.
or they're just a dick. Like I don't want to deal with them anymore." So even if they come in and they blow up and
Mm-hmm.
become amazing, I don't think they'll get rid of the other people entirely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also think that their careers aren't going to last
Got you.
as long as the more humble people will, even if the humble people aren't making like the same amount of money or the same amount of like uh, deals or whatever it
Mm-hmm,
is,
mm-hmm.
like the the perseverance will
Yeah,
last
yeah.
more for the nicer people, I think.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah,
So of all the game TTRPGs you've played so far, what's your favorite?
it's to play. I would say D&D,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just because it's the one I'm most comfortable with and most know. To do as an AP, I would say Tales from the Loop, Electric
Okay.
State, the one that I've done with Ed, just
Mm-hmm.
because of
Mm-hmm.
as an actor, it's the most actor friendly one, I guess, because we're just
Okay.
everything in it. We'd have we had maybe like four fights
Okay.
um, that were like, okay, we're actually in a fight now with a bad guy, or like we're fighting cops. Electric
Mm-hmm.
State, we have more of that because we've been shot at by cops and we've been fighting giant robots and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
in Eden Falls, it was almost entirely all acting. And so as an actor, that was great for me. I was like, oh, I get to just sit here and like pine over this girl or like have this thing where
Mm-hmm.
like I'm
Mm-hmm.
running from a dinosaur and I'm scared. And it was just there was a lot of fun in that one.
I
So that
love
was the
that.
most fun to like do as an AP, I think.
Okay.
Eden Falls has a lot of that too, because we had so much like romance and
We're gonna have
things.
to get this link. I need to get this link for season 2. I need to find because I missed obviously missed season 1, but I need to get this link and find out because this sounds amazing and I need to do watch this. So
It was fun. Yeah.
yeah, once I get the link, guys, I'll post it in the Discord. So like just join the Discord. I'll post it in the Discord once I get the link from Justice. Do you have any recommendations for new content creators? When they ask, who do I follow that are championing positive change in the TTRPG space?
That
We got a raid!
oh snap.
Yay! It's Tales Archived. Okay, so you guys, look, I love Benny Hill. Be quiet. I think Benny Hill is a freaking hilarious. I know it's crappy humor, but I don't care. Welcome in, Raiders. Thank you so much for stopping
It's a
by. We are
classic.
talking. It is a classic. We are talking with Justice, who is an amazing actor, TTRPG performer, gamer, martial artist, all amazing things, and a very all around cool person. Because we're having a great conversation and totally just vibing. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Tell us what you've been doing in the chat. If you want to ask questions of Justice, you can redeem 50 channel points to ask those questions, and we'll hold them for the end of this stream. How do you get 50 channel points? By following this channel. So that's how you do that, because I'm smart. Um, thank you for coming in. If I could get a shout out for Tales Archive, that'd be amazing. Thank you. Um, thank you so much. So, like I was saying, do you have any recommendations for new content creators who are want to champion the TTRPG space in a positive way?
So like I said, I'm still kind of a baby in this space. So the majority of the people I know through Castleton. um, but Omega seems really like he has a lot to say about it. Ethereus
Yes.
is when I first met Ethereus, he was offering counseling support like for people that wanted to do things, and he's like, this is how you should manage your things. And he had some good points back then. I haven't kept up with what he's been up to lately, but if he hasn't changed at all, then he's a good person to go to.
Awesome.
Sam,
Yeah.
she's very proactive. I mean, she brought me into it in the first place, so I respect her for that. Plus, she's a good person, and
Yeah.
she's always pushing for more diversity at her tables. Like she's always trying to get more Asian, Black, every LGBTQ people in her different RPG or TTRPGs that she runs. So I think she's pretty good. Um, yeah, AJ's been pretty great, like from what I can tell.
I mean, sort of,
I mean, I've only done Castleton with her, so I don't know. But
I feel like
Castleton, she brought in 120 people, so she's
like
pretty supportive
yeah,
of
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah. That's which is amazing. And all the
Yeah.
people you mentioned are amazing people. They're lovely, great, amazing creators. Aetherius and Omega have been on this channel and just so good. AJ is really really cool. Scheduling wise, we'll eventually get AJ on the channel. it, right now,
Probably in
she
like
got
2 months when she gets a rest.
yeah, she has a lot on her plate. Things are happening. Yeah, it'll happen. Um, so other than like as an actor, obviously you have influences and you have people that you've looked up to. But what is an influence in your life that people have never heard of?
Ooh, that's a good one. My main one is my grandpa, my dad's dad. He uh, he died when I was 1, so I never really met him. But he came to the U.S. from Vietnam in like 1910, and was in New York in like 1910 as a Vietnamese guy when there's no other Vietnamese people
Yeah,
really in New
yeah.
York. And he spoke like 7 languages
Oh wow.
because he spoke French, Vietnamese, Chinese, both Mandarin and Cantonese, I think. Uh, he married an Italian woman, so he spoke Italian a little bit. I think he spoke Spanish, English. He was crazy guy, and he was a chef at a hotel for like 40 years.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
then he um he like I said, he died when I was 1, so I didn't really get to know him, but I heard stories about him every once in a while from my dad. He wouldn't tell me too much. And then I went to visit my dad's sister one time in New York, and one of my grandpa's best friends was like a vice cop from NYPD.
Wow.
And so
Okay.
he just happened to be over, and he was like, "Do you know your grandpa and I used to like go to Chinatown, and your grandpa like ran the triads?" I was like, "What the fuck?"
What?
And he's like, "Yeah, we would go to Chinatown, and they would just like they would come to him and bring him food, and like they would be like, oh, and like that all, and be nice to my grandpa." And then later on, I heard different stories about how my grandpa would like smuggle people into New York from Vietnam, like, and then
What?
had them come in. And so I was like, was he a gangster? Because he sounds like a gangster. And my dad's like, but my dad's Italian side of the family like didn't like the fact that he was Vietnamese, obviously. Um,
I'm
and then
flabbergasted.
yeah, but his like also perseverance and strength and just being worldly and knowing 7 languages and raising my dad. And my dad is a pretty great guy, like in or I mean he has his flaws, everyone has flaws, but
Everyone,
like
yeah.
in general my dad never pushed like toxic masculinity on me. Like he was always more of like a gentle giant. He's a pretty big guy. um but he was never like, you have to be manly, you have to do this, you have to do that. He's like, I used to cry a lot when I was younger, and he was like,
Mm.
"It's okay, I cried a lot too when I was younger." Um, and then he was like, it's just getting your emotions out. It's not a big deal. Like,
Yeah,
just
I love
embrace
that.
it." Um, and so between the two of them, it's like they're pretty big influences on me of how I want to be as a person,
Mm-mm.
and just like nice and kind and intelligent if I can
How
be.
do we miss each other at these? Like, how do we totally like 3 days in Philadelphia at PAX Unplugged? How did we freaking miss? Like, I saw Omega. I hung out with Savannah. I like how?
Well, I wasn't at PAX Unplugged at least, so I've only been to PAX West and PAX East.
Okay, okay, so
So
that's okay,
yeah,
okay, fair, 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 fair.
yeah.
So, speaking of conventions, then what conventions are you doing this year where we could like come and find you and see you and bug you?
I just got an email from Larian 3 days ago, I think.
Hmm.
So I'll be at PAX East,
Oh, awesome.
hopefully.
Okay, okay.
They asked, but they haven't got back.
They
Like they
haven't
were
got
like, "You guys down to be at PAX East?" And I was like, "Yeah."
sure.
So theoretically, I'll be at PAX East for
Okay,
Larian again as a Starion,
okay.
um, which is always fun. But I sadly like have very little time outside of the convention because I'm at the booth
Yeah.
from like we start at like 6 a.m. and we finish at 7 p.m.
Oof.
because all the makeup takes a long time.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Oh my
and
god.
then afterwards we usually like
Crash.
either go to like Larian dinners or I'm
Mm.
just like dead and what I'm like, oh no dinner tonight, cool, I'm gonna go to sleep because
Like, okay,
that was a
bye.
long day. Yeah,
um, do you plan on any going to any conventions just off of the strength of like you want to go or people
I
want to hang
I
out
would
with you
love
and do
to.
things?
I don't have enough money, but I would love to. Um, I want to go to PAX Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Pax Lost is
Definitely
so
can't
good.
afford that. Uh,
Look,
and then I usually go to I used to go to Comic Con every year, but
mm-hmm.
haven't gone the last couple of years, pretty much since
Comic
COVID.
Con.
Like I stopped. San Diego,
Okay, okay. Mm-hmm.
the big, the big one, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm in New York, so New York. When you say Comic Con, think New
Yeah,
York.
I want to go to New York Comic Con so
Don't do
bad.
that. Don't do
I haven't been back to New York since 2003. I
that.
miss
Okay,
it.
so okay, fair. Okay, so then yeah, totally. First of all,
Yeah.
PAX Australia, you need to go. We will figure out a way. Like people need to start going. Listen, follow. Click on the. If you go to the link in right there, Justice is added right there on my Twitch. If you go down there, you see chatting with at Justin. Click on that. Click on the follow. Follow him and start giving him money so he can go to PAX Australia.
Yeah,
Because
please.
I'm going to PAX Australia for the second time
Oh,
this year.
nice.
So I would love to see you there. That'd be great. Or Gen Con, or Gary Con, or
Yeah,
PAX U. Or
I heard a lot of bad things about Gen Con, so I'm kind of worried about that one.
so Gen Con is look. I enjoy Gen Con for what it was. It's massive. I will tell you that. It's number
Mm,
one.
yeah.
Number two, it is very much a grind. It is one of those things that you're going one because you're making connection with people that you already know or that you want to
Hmm.
know, and two, it's very much a networking thing. It feels like a
Mm,
network thing. It is a networking thing.
that makes sense.
And four, it's a great place to do lots and lots of panels,
Mm.
because their panels are really good. That's what I'm
You have
gonna
to
say.
pay for each panel individually, though, right?
Well, yeah, some panels are free. But
Okay,
if you are running a panel, like you apply to run a panel and they approve it, that's free. I got approved for 2 panels this year, which is freaking me out a little bit, but that's
nice.
okay. So,
I got invited to panels at one of the PAXs, I think.
hmm, hmm.
But I was like, I'm at the booth
Yeah,
like
I
the entire
can't
time.
come.
Like I can't.
Oh
We
man.
did a convention in London one time for Larian,
Mm-hmm.
like right out 2021 because there was
Mm-hmm.
no cons in 2020 after PAX East.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought us to London, and when we went out there, we had to judge a cosplay panel, and we had to like give a speech on like cosplay, and we were both like, they didn't tell us till we were there, and we're just like, um,
Uh,
sure, okay, yeah.
like,
We're just like, that's a
okay.
great cosplay, good job.
Like, it looks really cool. You did really
Mm,
good. I love your 3D printing. Okay, moving on.
yeah, pretty
Uh,
much.
that's awesome. That is hilarious. I love that. So,
Yeah.
outside of TTRPGs, outside of acting, outside of actual plays, what do you do to have fun in your pastime?
I play video games. I go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Very boring. I don't do too many things. I do martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I I do random projects every once in a while. Like I really like building things. Like I wanted to be an engineer for a while when I was a
Okay.
kid. Um, so I've always had like a how do things work kind of mindset. So like
Mm-hmm.
I like creating things. Like I love getting IKEA furniture and just building it. Like I don't do that as a hobby, but like whenever we get IKEA furniture, I'm always like, yes, I get to build something, and I get really excited. Uh, so 3D printing and things like that sometimes will be a project. I have like I'm trying to build Zach from Final Fantasy VII's
Oh,
sword
nice.
and costume and things just for fun. And same with Zagreus from Hades. I want to do like both of them at some point in the next year.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
basically that. Watch a lot of movies, which is for fun and hobby, but also
For work.
goes back into acting
Yeah,
to
yeah,
like be
yeah.
like, how do they act? It's really hard to turn off my like creative brain with everything I do because everything I do intersects with like things I do for money. So it's a weird
Oh my
thing.
god, I love it. So, I have one more question before we get to chat questions. If you could perform or play with anyone, dead or alive, real or fiction, up to five or six people, who would it be?
Michael Jackson. Um, I think Michael Jackson would be amazing at
Mm-hmm.
TTRPGs. He would be so much fun. Who else? Real or fictional? It's so many people.
It's so bad because people are like, wait, 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 wait. Every single guest kind of go, wait, okay, wait. Dead or alive too? Okay, okay, no.
Yeah. Probably shoot, what's his name? Heath Ledger.
Mm,
Heath Ledger would be sick.
okay.
Um two of them, probably anybody from Castleton.
Oh.
Just because like already seen so many like good performances from them. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like having them at the table would be amazing. Um who else? This is a stupid one, but if I had to do a romantic one,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Ryan Gosling would be really fun to like
Oh,
do a
nice.
TTRPG with.
That's awesome. Okay, fair, fair, fair,
Yeah,
fair.
same with Jamie Foxx. I think Jamie Foxx would be really fun to have at a table.
Jamie Foxx would be
Um,
hilarious because I feel like Jamie
yeah,
Foxx would lean into the role play
yeah,
so hard.
he would not stop. I
It
can
would be
imagine.
nonstop, and you'd be like, "What is happening?" It would. I
Yeah,
think it would be absolute chaos. I love that.
having Jamie DM would be amazing because if he plays every single like NPC,
Oh, it'd be over. Oh my god. Oh, now I'm thinking. Now I'm rethinking my list. Okay, you know what? Thanks a lot. So
sorry.
we're gonna get into the questions now. Connor is in chat, which I love. Thank you for being here. He asks,
Hey,
"What's
brother.
the what's the process for justice of getting into the mind of a character you play? Do you have any specific exercises or methods?"
So it depends on the character. Um, a lot of times I just repeat. I am. Oh, so there's there's one acting exercise I used to do a lot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It's called emotional inventory, I guess. Yeah, emotional inventory.
mm-hmm.
So you just say, "How do I feel?" And then so like right, I'd be like, "How do I feel? I feel sweaty. How do I feel? I feel my ears are kind of compressed under my headphones.
Yeah, yeah.
How do I feel? I feel happy. I'm having a good time. How do I feel?" And then you do that until you realize you can feel every sort of emotion at the same time. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can be angry and sad and happy all at the same time because they're all kind of connected.
Right.
And once you get to that point, you're like, okay, now I'm good to go and do whatever I need to do.
Mm.
But doing that with intention as a character. So like,
Ooh, okay.
if I'm playing like Prince Tyr, when I had to do the scene with Connor where we
Mm-hmm.
fought and got mad at each other,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I knew I had to be pissed off at him for everything that was going on,
Yeah.
and then like how he was stealing my girlfriend and or the girl that I just lost my virginity to.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I was like, why are you messing with her? So I don't think I did that specifically, but I did something similar just
Mm-hmm.
internally where it was like, okay, how do I feel? I'm fucking pissed off at my brother. Why does he keep doing this shit to
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Like, and then just getting in that like headspace of, okay, I'm gonna go into the scene already frustrated and already angry and tired, but I don't want to deal with it, so I'm gonna push
Mm-hmm.
it away. And then in the scene, it played out where like he kept pushing me, and I'm like, all right, you want to push me? Like, here's the thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But I had
yeah.
to do like that prep before we started, kind
Right.
of. Um, I do it a little less with TTRPGs just because they always start kind of like, especially when they're pre-recorded.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
for Eden Falls, like the live ones, it's very different because it's
Mm-hmm.
you're live, so I have to be in it like the whole time. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's hard to like pop in and out. But with the ones that are pre-recorded, we're always like kind of joking around before we start. We're like,
Yeah,
all right, let's
yeah.
go, and then we do it. Um, so I do a little bit of that. And then I also do the thing where like I'll repeat to myself. So like for Tyr, I'll be like, I'm Prince Tyr Amadeum, fourth born son of the Empress of Arma. This is my duties. This is my brother. I love my brother. I love my sister. And then like kind of get into being like, okay, this is who I am. This is
Mm-hmm.
where I am. This is what I'm doing. And then I'll go into it. So that's a little bit of my process. It changes every session and every character because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's different. I'm doing a scene in my acting class for a play called Orphans.
Okay.
And I'm playing the older brother that trapped his little brother in like a room his whole life
Mm-hmm.
because their mom died when they were little and he took care of them, but he became like a street thug and like stabbed people and steals from them. So I have to like, I'm constantly like, my name is Treat Williams. I'm protecting my brother. I'll do anything for my brother, but he can't go outside this house because if he goes outside this house, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
alone and he's gonna die, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. And so I have to like
Keep
every time I'm
constantly.
like, yeah, before I do my lines, I have to keep repeating that over and over. So like I get in the headspace of like
Oh, that's so
being a
good.
tough guy, because I'm very much my teacher's like, I don't think you can do this role because like it's
Wow.
he's like
Okay.
it's not you. I don't think you can do it. And every time I do it, he's like, I don't know how you keep proving me wrong, but I'm like I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
prove
keep
you
doing what I'm
wrong.
doing.
Yeah, I'm
um,
gonna prove you wrong.
Clementine asks, "What do you find is different in TTRPGs compared to traditional acting?"
So like I said earlier, I think the main thing is the freedom.
Yeah, yeah,
Like there's freedom, but there's also constraints, obviously, because you have to roll the dice and like you're
yeah,
constrained to the dice.
yeah,
But it's just the freedom because you can say whatever you want to say and paint whatever pictures you want to paint
yeah.
that you can't really do in traditional acting
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be more grounded. Even if you're doing like, if I was in Star Wars, I still have the limit of what I can do on set with
Yes.
whatever the props and whatever the script is
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
all that stuff. But
Yeah, yeah.
in TTRPG, you can do whatever.
I love that. I love that. That's why I love TTRPG so much because as much as like I would have loved to be an actor, I don't have the time or the patience to be stuck and tell for someone to tell me what to do. Mom, leave me alone. Let me do what I want. Um, so Savannah, who is not here right now, asks, are there certain stories or types of stories that you think can only be told through TTRPGs versus stories that can really only be told through traditional writing or theater?
Hmm. I don't think there are specific stories that can only be told
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like any story you can tell in a AP, you can tell in a book, or you can tell in a comic, or you can tell in a cartoon, or you can tell in live action. I
Mm-hmm.
think the main difference is the collaborative aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like when you're writing a book, you're not really writing it with five other people
Yeah.
with their own voices for every character and all that stuff. Um, and if you're telling the same story, like if we took Castleton and put it into a TV show, for example,
Mm-hmm.
like we could tell the same exact story and it
Right.
would play out the exact same way, but it would be different because it'd be scripted and it would be
Right.
acted out and it wouldn't be like in the moment of like discovery and you wouldn't have the reactions of people being like, oh
Oh,
shit, he
oh
just
yeah.
said that.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Or you're
So
having the actual players kind of like drop from.
yeah, like Sachi every
So I'm just
time.
like,
Yeah.
there's.
So
I'm
the
gonna say
story is
this. That
sto-
whole time I was like,
yeah.
don't break, don't break, doing stuff.
It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard every time with Sachi and Ren. I
Yeah.
just have a hard time.
So DDH, I love. Hi DDH. Asks, what is your dream campaign?
I think that one I mentioned earlier, the
Mm,
martial arts
yeah, yeah, yeah.
fantasy thing would be like a dream one for
Okay,
me.
okay.
Just because I feel like I've seen a couple like there's Tales from the Rings or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's some like wuxia TTRPGs out there, but I've read through like the manuals for them and I just didn't like them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential for it, and I think it'd be really cool to do
Okay.
one.
Fair, fair, fair. I love that.
Yeah,
Aurora. Hi, Aurora. Have you? Aurora's gonna be at my table. Have you played
nice.
Legends of the Five Rings?
That's the one I was just talking about.
Okay,
But
that's the
no, I
one.
haven't played it. Yeah,
Okay,
I was like, I know there's rings, and I
it's
know there's
something
like
rings or
tails or
something.
something. Yeah, I haven't played that, but that's the one that I've heard about that
Oh,
I
gotcha.
looked into, but I was like, I would probably have to homebrew it. I'd probably take it and then like
Mm,
finagle it to be more
change it
to
around.
my likings. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Clementine, who is also hi, Clem. Do you have any idea for your next TTRPG character?
Uh,
Any
there's one
ideas?
that I'm playing that we recorded one session for so far. That is a really cool character. I don't know if Janelle's made it public on what the storyline is for that one
Hmm.
yet, so I can't really talk about it.
Okay,
But
fair.
he plays two characters,
Hmm. Hmm.
like a character in one world and a character in another world, and they're very different people. And the one in one of the worlds is a very recluse, shut in who hasn't been outside in like 3 years,
Gotcha.
and then the other version of him is like an assassin, kind of Batman-y type guy who's just like, I'm cool, just leave me alone. um,
Love it.
so yeah,
Oh, I love
that's
that.
that's the next one I'm playing. And then I have ideas for other stories if things
Hmm.
come up. Like, oh, I would like to play this kind of character. That'd be like either more gruff. I want to play like a gruff kind of, almost like Troilus, but not as
Hmm.
Audrey, like the Witcher voice. Um, but more of the like the gruff protector
Yeah,
type
yeah.
person, or a bad, like a mean guy that's just like kind of a
Playing a,
dick.
yeah, playing a villain is
Yeah,
not, that's fun. It's fun. It's not easy, but it's fun. Um,
yeah, imagine.
s- so Clementine asks, from a throwback to early Castleton days, what's your coffee order?
uh Jasmine tea.
Just
No, actually, tears would probably be rose rose tea because he loves roses,
oh
and he's more of a tea guy than a coffee guy.
yeah, but that's so overwhelmingly. Bleh. like,
Yeah,
like I love the smell of roses. Smell. I love rose perfume, but to drink a
yeah,
rose. Oh,
yeah.
ugh, ugh. And then Clementine also asks, "What's your favorite D&D monster?" For both of us. Oh boy. Okay, you first.
I like displacer. Well, dragons are my favorite,
Mm-hmm.
so they'll always be the best. And then I think displacer beasts are up there as one of my favorite like D&D monsters, just because I like big cats and I like big wolves.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
anything
fair.
that's a big cat or a big wolf usually like is top tier for me.
Okay,
And
okay,
displacer beasts are just pretty cool looking.
okay. For me, it would be, I have a couple, but my favorite, I love beholders, because the idea of like being able to see all aspects and all around is kind of cool. And oddly enough, I like, and it's weird. People think I'm weird for it because you need a bunch of them, but I love a whole bunch of freaking kobolds as coming at you. I just, the idea of having 50 of these little bastards coming at you makes me like excited to fight. It's like,
I still
oh
have
crap!
PTSD against kobolds from my first D&D session.
Oh really?
Well, because when I was like 8, the my friend's dad was like, "Okay, you're strapped to a table, and these kobolds are like torturing you with burning wax over your body." And
Like,
so like that was my first D&D session ever.
when
So
you're
like whenever
eight?
I hear kobolds, yeah, when I
What
hear
the fuck?
kobolds, I'm like, kobolds,
When you're eight?
yeah.
Jesus Christ! Well, oh my god, that's a visual for 8-year-old. But either way, that's okay. Don't walk in his name in his holy spaces. Next game you can run. You can a land shark called Jeff. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so guys, if you have any more questions, please redeem some channel points. You can ask any question you like for Justice. In the meantime, um, tell us, Justice, what we can expect from Justice the actor, Justice the digital artist, the TTRPG performer, and from the regular guy themselves. What can we expect from you in the next few months?
Uh, Currently there's so I don't know if I should be promoting this, but whatever.
Oh,
I've been working on a lot of vertical dramas that Connor and Clem both know about because I've told both of them. They're really cheesy. I'm sure you've seen them
mm-hmm.
on your ads. They're just the ones that are like overly dramatic, like telenovela soap operas. Um, been in a few of those. So you may see me pop up in any of those anywhere, because they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then supposed to be working on this show called Pretty Dudes, which
Okay.
is uh, spiritual successor. No, it's called Pretty Dude 626. It's a spiritual successor to this old web series called Pretty Dudes about a bunch of LGBTQ multi-ethnic group of
Mm-hmm.
friends who all live together. And then the one we're doing is like mainly Asians all living in the same house. with a bunch of different types of LGBTQ
Mm-hmm,
representation. Like
mm-hmm.
my guy is ace when my brother is like flamboyantly gay, and then there's another guy who's bi, and a bunch. It's just all the shenanigans that we all get up to living in the same house and dealing with big personalities. But we'll see if that ever actually happens because we've
Mm-hmm.
been working on it for a few years now.
Okay,
But
okay.
I haven't actually filmed anything yet, so we'll see. And then TTRPG wise, Paradise Lost, the sequel to Eden Falls,
Mm-hmm,
we
mm-hmm.
have like 2 more episodes left. It's every Tuesday at 12 to 4 ish PST.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then once that's done, I'm helping Janelle with her new show that she's doing, SMD. She has an Instagram for it, but I don't think she has anything really public about it yet, so I don't want
Okay,
to
okay.
spoil anything. Um, and then I think that's it for TTRPGs. Hopefully more come up because I have a lot of fun doing them.
Just so much fun.
And art wise, I'm doing more Castleton art. Hopefully more people will commission me because I could use the money and it's fun to like get challenges.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because I'm always like, how every time I do a new art piece, I'm like, how the hell am I gonna do this? And then I try to figure it out on the spot.
And then here I
Um,
come, like, can you do these three?
yeah, I was like, oh yeah, sure, let's go.
Okay. Oh shoot. Okay. There is a couple more questions. So Nerdwitch asks, "Oh, what's your favorite video game?
Oh,
Or what are
that's
your
a
favorite video games?"
so there's an old game called Lunar: The Silver Star Story.
Mm-hmm.
Was one of my first RPGs that I like really got sucked into.
Okay.
Um, that I like a lot. It's pretty dated, but they're making a remake. So
Okay.
if you guys
Okay.
want to play that, play that. And then Final Fantasy series is mainly like one of my favorites, and
Okay.
then Devil May Cry I think
Ooh, Devil May
is up there
Cry.
too.
Not a lot of
Yeah,
people like Devil May Cry. I like that. That's cool.
yeah. I got really invested in Devil May Cry partially because I bond with any time a character is like mixed. And
Right.
so since
Right.
he's half demon, half human, I was like, he's like me.
Yeah.
I'm part demon too. I'm
Connor.
part demon and part Asian.
Connor asks, I gotta know the dream role either in movies, TV, or whatever setting you want."
That's There's a few. One would have been Nightwing, if I was younger.
Ooh.
I think I'm too old now to do that because yeah,
Oh wow. I mean,
it'd be tough
uh,
to swing it. But that would have been a dream role. Another
okay.
one would be anything that's fantasy, really. Anything where I get to ride a horse, have a sword,
Oh, that'd be so
um,
good.
do anything like that. That'd be. I
Ooh.
don't even care if it's good or not. Like Clem knows, I was in a commercial where I was a knight and I got shot by an arrow and I died. Um,
Clem,
and
send me that link, please. Thank you. Um,
I showed it to her a few days ago because I was like, "Oh, that's when that guy had that really disappointing like look on his face when I died in front of him."
that's awesome. So, if
But
no one has any
yeah,
more questions, that's amazing. If no one has any more questions, I always ask that my guests guide the race. So if you can let us know where we're reading out to, and while Justice is looking for that, I'm going to let you guys know what we're doing for the next few days. So tomorrow we have Matthew Barker, aka the Playmat, who is also in Castleton. Will be on here tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then on Valentine's Day, someone who I've been trying to get on this channel for ever, and finally it has happened, is Captain Robert on January 14th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Super excited about that. Thank you very much, Clem. I cannot wait for that to happen. And then on the 19th, I will be on Girls Run These Worlds, and I'll be running a panel on Black creators in the TTRPG space. Please check that out. And then for Aurora, who knows what's about to happen on the 22nd, our second episode of Classic 20, the one shot I do once a month at level 20, will be happening, and Aurora will be in it. I am going to be the one DMing it because, I have to occasionally flex that muscle. So with that, that's the stuff we'll be doing the next couple weeks. So let us know we are where we grading out to Justice.
uh, I'll give you a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You can raid your daughter, Rin, or Mandy.
Let's go with Mandy. I haven't seen Mandy in a while. I've been to Red
Cool.
a bunch of times, but I haven't seen Mandy in a while. And Mandy was on the show, and We were chatting about a bunch of stuff. So let's go over to Mandy. Guys, thank you so much for being here. This was absolutely amazing and so much fun. Thank you, Justice, for being a wonderful guest and amazing actor and a wonderful person that you are. It was
Thank you.
just so cool. I hope to have you back soon. Guys, I will see you guys tomorrow for the Playmats interview. I cannot wait for that to happen. And as always, it's better to be kind than to be nice. And if you can't be good, please be careful. Love you guys forever. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
And we are out. Give me 2 seconds to say hi.
Mandy.
It's
Oh,
Mandy.
ads.
Bye. Yes, was nice. Okay. Nice.